I got to kick this thing off. Can I kick it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
Conversate with Us Radio presents the Man Listen Show. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the Black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on a no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to keep it 100% real and 100% Black all the time. Please follow the show on Facebook and Instagram at Man Listen Show. Go to our YouTube, click that bell icon so you can be notified of upcoming episodes, and just make sure you tell everybody about the blackest radio show on the internet, the Man Listen Show. I'm your host, Mark B. Let's bring the crew in. Shout out to C. So listen, last week, New York had its primaries, and Mayor Zohran Mamdani, he turned into a kingmaker because his party, the Democratic Socialist of America, the DSA, we'll call them DSA, right? The three candidates that he was pushing, they all won their primaries. So people were talking about how, Mamdani is emerging as a kingmaker. Now, he's been extremely popular in New York City for a lot of the policies that he's enacted in terms of the socialist policies, like, free childcare, transportation. There's a bunch of different stuff that he's put into place, man, that really has the city of New York very pleased with what he's doing for the constituents. And a lot of people are talking about how this is what the Democratic Party needs to get people more excited about coming out to vote, right? Some of the people that were in this party, the DSA, were caught heckling or making chants towards Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries, if the Democrats take back over the House, he would be the first Black person to be the Speaker of the House. Now they're saying, hey, Hakeem Jeffries, you're up next, because Jeffries was promoting his candidates, and obviously all of them lost to the DSA candidates, right? So a lot of people are talking about how this somewhat of a racist tinge to it, and what I'll do to try to connect it for you guys is the same thing with Jasmine Crockett with Talarico here in Texas, where I live. Even though they're not DSA, right? Talarico, he beat Jasmine Crockett fair and square. He got his base out. He got whites and Hispanics out, and he beat Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett said, hey, listen, I'm for the Democratic Party, but now people are saying, hey, we need Jasmine to come up and help us win against Paxton. And they're setting the table to where if Talarico can't pull it off, it's the Black woman and the Black people's fault that it didn't happen, right? So when you have what's going on with Crockett in Texas, and then you see what's kind of building in New York with Jeffries, are we seeing sort of the blame game go towards Black people? What are y'all's thoughts?
I mean, I think that's always part of the agenda because it's easy, right? It's easier to say that, oh, Black people don't vote. Oh, Black people don't have the right to vote because of prior convictions or whatever, or Black people just aren't supportive and educated enough about the issues to make votes that count and are impactful in the way that we need them to be. But that's standard. I think the thing that we're seeing here is that we have other people trying to rise up on the back of our hard work, which is also part of the MO. And then it's impossible for people to be successful without emulating or involving or, you know what I mean, in some way representing that contribution that Black people constantly make to every aspect of life, even if it's just connecting with voters or how we're getting out there and speaking out and whatever. But I think that in this case, I would say, not in Jasmine's case, I think that I think that what some people might have been trying to do is get someone who's not as vocal against people, because I think that sometimes they're like, oh, well, because she's like so like vocal against Trump and all of his people, that that may not be as good of a draw. So that might be to me a little bit more nuanced. But with this Hakeem Jeffries thing, I don't know about that one because I think that, like you said, people are just kind of really jazzed about all the stuff that Mandami is doing, and then for Hakeem Jeffries to say that he supports Israel, I think that everybody is kind of tired of the people that are already in office, the people that were in there and had a chance and haven't done anything, because you've been telling us that it's impossible to do all of these things and it's impossible to effect all of this change and to counter what Trump and his base is doing. And then here's somebody who's doing it. Here's someone who's holding the billionaires in New York accountable, making them pay their taxes and then giving it back to the people. And we're seeing it in real time actually work. So for all the people that have been saying, oh, it can't work, we can't do it, now we don't have as much trust. Now we don't have as much faith in what you've been saying. So I would say that it's too nuanced to say that it's just race. It's always going to be about race to some degree because they need us. They need us in all the ways you can think of, even if it's just copying what we do and how we do. They need us. But also, I think that people seeing it get done, we're ready for something else. We've been saying we need somebody who's going to put their foot on the back of Trump's neck, and no one's been doing it. So anybody that's already in office, really, I'm not supportive of you either. So I'm anybody who's want to get up and try, not like a Trump uneducated, unexperienced. Like I think experienced candidates who have ideas should be supported and promoted, but you know what I mean. I think that the people that have tenure, the people that have been in the office, and the people that have proven that they're willing to walk the line instead of, fighting for what we really need to get done, it's hard to continue to support these people. I'm all for him becoming the first Black speaker, but also I don't support Israel and I don't see how he possibly could. So that's crazy.
So before I let Lab jump in, let me talk about some of the things that he did. So universal child care, he's put that into place in New York. Rent freeze. Uh, they said he's filled 100,000 potholes in the city, and just the overall balancing of the budget and the civic engagement, and most importantly, that it brought the Knicks a championship this year. but in all seriousness, I think that we talked about how Hakeem Jeffries said the first thing we do when we take back over the house is we're impeaching Trump, and I think we all said like nobody cares. Nobody cares if you impeach Trump. He's been impeached. He's been convicted. He's a convicted felon, and he's still in office. What they care about is how are we going to afford food, affordability, our ability to just exist and live. That's what we care about. So when you look at this socialist agenda that Mamdani is championing, it speaks to the people. Now, I personally think that if he was born a U.S. citizen, there's no doubt he would be the president. No doubt, because there's a lot of that Barack Obama energy behind him, right? But I'll just leave it at that before I say anything else. Lab, what do you think?
When it comes to Jeffries and like Erika said, there's always in the US, race is always gonna be the third rail. It's always there. So there is a faction of the DSA, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party that they use anti-blackness, or I'm not gonna say anti-blackness, but they use things that a lot of people perceive as anti-black to cater to a certain segment of the populace, right? So they say, I need the vote in these areas or in a particular area. So I throw out a couple keywords, a couple key phrases, and that gets their ears, peaked. And they're like, okay, I like this person. So there's always going to be there. But also, like you said, I think everybody is just tired of the old guard. People gatekeeping, want to be, I want to be the savior. It's not about helping the people. It's really about me being the person that helps the people. And so there's a lot of ego. We talk about it all the time with these career politicians. So what's he going to do if you're not a politician? What you've done it for 30 years. What are you going to do next? And so as with most people in job situations, you see it now with people with AI and other things. People try to find ways to stay in those positions. They don't want some outside or somebody that's some outside force coming in like a whirlwind and just taking their job away. And so we have to understand that as well when it comes to politics, that these politicians aren't, to them, it's a career, it's a job. We put so much into them that I think sometimes we need to step back and realize that, hey, ultimately, for a lot of them, it's not about helping the people. It's about me winning the next election. It's about me staying in power. It's about me being able to go back to my district or my constituent and say, I did this for you. Not we did this as a collective, but I was able to get this done for you. That's why I'm the only person that can lead this group. And so when you see somebody who doesn't come from that ilk and they come in, like you said, and they make all these changes, and the city seems to be thriving. Enthusiasm for the city is at an all-time high. I want to say that they're, murders are down. I mean, there's not just New York, but other cities, where you have this young, fresh energy coming, and you have people, engage more. A lot of time, you see a Hakeem Jeffries, and you see he's not going to drive me to vote if I live there. You know what I mean? I'm not, if I haven't voted in 4 cycles, Hakeem Jeffries being on the ballot is not going to make me go out and vote in that 5th cycle. So long story short, yes, race is involved, but also some of the smoke is well deserved.
Hey, I very rarely do I say this, but because I love y'all, but y'all two was cooking tonight. I got to give it to you. I think that, I said it in the past, I gave the example how I used to live in Houston, Texas, and I was down in South Park and Third Ward, Texas, and not the rich side of Third Ward, but like, the kind that would quote unquote the hood. And I remember sitting there looking, I said, man, you know what? I've been down here for 12 years and nothing in this neighborhood has changed. And I could see why somebody would say, you know what, voting doesn't matter because it's not changing how I live day to day. But when you have somebody that's putting in these policies that are having an immediate impact on improving the quality of my life, yes, you're going to get people to come out and to vote. I've been that guy that's been in the barbershop trying to tell people, listen, man, if you don't get out and vote, we can't be engaged. We can't hold people accountable. And I remember I'm waxing poetic for about 10 minutes, and I just looked, and there's about 12, 15 dudes in the barbershop that just tuned me straight out. So this enthusiasm that the DSA or has been able to garner, the Democrats have to find a way to embrace that. But what we're seeing is, I call them the corporate Dems. They don't really want to because it's a threat, to your point, Lab, to their status quo. Because why haven't you done something like this in all the years that you've been in office? So they don't want that success to come. And there's a term that I learned from this brother last week, and maybe you two have heard it. It's called liberal racist. Whereas, you might be less racist than MAGA or the Republicans, but your expectations for Black people and what they deserve is still less than what is acceptable. And I feel like that is something that we have to deal with on a consistent basis. And that's why people say left side, right side, it's all the same. A lot of people will talk about, okay, do we have a 2-party system? Rika talks about, hey, we need a 3rd party. And really what we have is one party, one corporate party that just has two separate interests. Now, again, I'm not out here trying to tell people don't vote Democrat and we're on the Democratic plantation because we got people that do that all the time. And really all that does is stifle the little momentum that we have. But we have to find a way. Well, I say the Democrats have to find a way to embrace this agenda to get people out because y'all kind of tap danced around, calling it racist. I'm gonna call it racist. Lab, I'm gonna call it anti-black because you can't sit there and say that Black people don't do what they're supposed to do for the Democratic Party, especially Black women. And we look at right now, and there are so many Black women who are without work, because like I say all the time, nobody hates Republicans more than Black women. And you've seen the retribution that they're putting into place because there are so many sisters who are out of work. So if the Dems want to make sure that this is changed and they want to get the minority vote out, in particular Black people, they're going to have to address those things because I hate the term Black people are monolithic, right? But you have the quote unquote Black people that's in the hood, and then you have those who are educated and maybe middle class, upper middle class, and what we need is critical, but they may be different. So there's an opportunity for them to get them out. And how can you sit there and say that? How can you set the table to blame Black people like they always do when you look at the Hispanics and they the main ones that don't come out and vote or vote against their own interests? So there is a tinge of racism when it comes to you all keep targeting the Black representatives, Cori Bush, Jasmine Crockett, Hakeem Jeffries. I got to call that out.
Yes, but so there's yes and not yes, but yes, and I think the thing is that what we have to recognize is there's a hierarchy in this country, and they want to preserve the hierarchy as much as the white people. They just want more benefits on the hierarchy, but they don't want to ever fall below the Black people on that
And that's what I
hierarchy.
say all the time.
Yeah.
What train thought? I tell people all the time when I talk to my kids and I talk about having friends who are white. I say, yeah, you got friends who are white, but always remember it only goes so far. And the reason why it goes so far, because they don't want to jeopardize the benefits that comes to them because of their whiteness.
Yes, entirely. So, and I think that that's why that liberal races, I think there's always an element of self-preservation in their struggle, in their fight, because they're like, at the end of the day, I will fight for you, but you still got to stay beneath me. And so that's always going to be a component to our joint efforts to, progress this country forward. But I think the other thing that you mentioned, like when you say people live in these neighborhoods for 12 years and they don't even see a change or anything like that.
Probably
I think
longer than
that
that. Probably longer than that. That's just the 12 years
For
I
sure.
saw.
Way longer
right.
than that. Yeah.
But like contrast that with like, so for me, we know I live in a white county, and that's why my vote really doesn't matter, but I still vote. But anyway, but like last year or last summer, in the winter or whatever, they put a note on my door and they was like, hey, don't park in your garage because we're going to be repairing your street. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with it. They was like, yeah, but by the time the winter changes to summer, it's really going to tear up the street. So we're going to fix it in advance. Okay.
That just means they have money to burn. Like we got budget money that we got to spend, and
Yeah,
we
we
don't
gotta
want
spend it.
to lose it.
Yeah.
So we fixing.
But there were
We gonna
some
fix the
cracks.
street.
There were some, I know what they're talking about because they did it all over the neighborhood. And it was places where there had been like kind of like a little crack formed here. If there was even a hint that this was going to spread and turn into something, that portion of the neighborhood got repaired. So
But
yes, and yes, they have the money to do it, but also they know that if they don't be proactive about fixing things around here, these white people gonna get up in arms and start rioting. What are you doing with our tax money? They gonna start voting people out and throwing all these fits and everything. And so I think the surplus of money. So that's why I'm like, we need to get these people who like me don't necessarily live in our areas to contribute back to our areas instead of contributing only to the area that I live in. But then also we need to hold the people that are overseeing those funds in those areas accountable for making sure that the stuff that's happening in other places is happening there too. And maybe that can counter some of the voter apathy that we're seeing. Maybe.
I'm gonna go on a brief tangent. I saw somebody on Threads talk about how they lived in a neighborhood, and this certain part of the neighborhood, the street that they lived on, really didn't get that much traffic, right? But over the course of years, they've had construction in that area multiple times. And it's like, why do we keep seeing construction? Why do they keep repaving this road in this area that's not seeing that much traffic? And the person that posted on Thread said, this is how fraud happens. So they say, hey, listen, this is an area that doesn't really need that much work, but it also doesn't have that much visibility. So this is how we can siphon funds to some of our people through these jobs, quote unquote, like Trump did with the damn reflecting pool, right? We can legitimately say, hey, listen, I'm gonna send some money to my guy, and they're just gonna fix something that don't need to be fixed, and it's not gonna have that much visibility, and they call it out. These are the type of things that happen. That's just a tangent, you know what I mean? But yeah, I feel you. But I think if the Dems really want to change this, they're gonna have to embrace what you're talking about and being proactive in changing how people live. Because voter apathy got Trump in the office more. Well, them stealing the election got Trump in office.
Hierarchy. Then
But,
white women.
but voter apathy made it much easier for them to do so.
Yeah, I think also, you know, we talk about these, you say these quote unquote socialist policies. What's your government for, though? You know, if your government's not there to make life easier, to assist, like, you know, assist in certain aspects, things that are done quote unquote for the betterment of all people. So there's many studies that say if you start kids and if they have health care, obviously they live longer lives and more productive. Start them in Head Start, then they have a greater chance of being productive on the back end. So you pay the money up front instead of, which another thing he's about to do is try to close Rikers for good, right? So you pay the money that you're spending.
They've been saying that for years. Now, if he closed Rikers, man, he really is.
I know.
Yeah.
But you know, you think about, you know, we always think about it the opposite way. We think about the forward way, the amount you're spending on prisons, you invest that into the kids, and then on the back end, you won't have as many people in the prisons, right? So, you know,
that's
Then
not
for-profit prisons won't make any money.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Not only the for-profit prisons, but them little rural backwoods areas got those penitentiaries where the jail is a source of income for all the little Jethro and
mom and pop shops getting the
Susie and
business
all
from
that stuff. That right there plays a part in it too.
Right. They just cut funding for tutoring programs in my city in East Saint.
And see, that all goes back to the prison, the school to prison pipeline.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. And they know why they're doing it in the areas that they're doing it.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you know, kind of the piggyback off what you're talking about in your neighborhood, they're always proactive. A lot of times those neighborhoods aren't in the center core of the city, right, that you live in. So the anchor city in a lot of those areas, they carry an unbalanced burden for the whole area as far as financially. So, you know, everybody that doesn't live in that city, well, when it's time to come to work, they invade the city. They come. So, you know, all these different city services, they're the one city, or the core, the anchor city is tasked with providing all that services for everybody in the region. And so that's part of the reason why their budgets be messed up, is because you do have money, you know, you don't have interstate that you know, all these people travel on. You don't have these major roads that people come in every day from outside and drive on, that the pavement's gonna wear quicker. And so you got to spend X amount of money just to maintain a certain level of infrastructure. And in other smaller cities and suburbs don't have to do that. So that's part of the reason too. So
they still taxing people. They getting them people money.
But listen,
you work in the city, they taking your money.
In St. Louis and in Kansas City, but not every city is like that.
That's fair.
Speaking of cities that need infrastructure and work on the roads, Atlanta, right? And for those who have been to Atlanta, you know it's hell driving around in Atlanta. But I just saw where Georgia is now, and they posted this on Black Millenn, damn, I can't talk. Black millionaires. I want to say Black millennials like Erika is, but Black millionaires. Yes, you're a millennial.
You are.
Fairly.
That's like saying I'm a little pregnant. Either either is or you ain't.
I'll give you this. Depending upon what chart you look at, you are. You know, some of them go to like 80,
That's
start
true.
at 82 or something. You know,
That's
like,
true.
okay.
81, baby.
I know.
That's true.
That's why I said that. I know,
Right there. I'm
That's-
right there with you.
That's very true. And we talked, I know we talked about there's like a subset of the generations called the Zennials that we all fall under, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Because
I'll take it.
you think about it, we really don't relate to many in Gen X. Me and Lav, we don't really fit with a lot of Gen Xers.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Rika don't really fit with a lot of the millennials, right? But we have some millennial traits. So
Yeah.
it's that little gap,
But
this is like a 5-year gap. I think it's like 77 to 83 or something like that, 6-year
Yeah.
gap that they
we
call it.
perfect.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Right. But anyway,
That's it
so,
right there.
so Black millionaires, they said Georgia is now a state of minorities. According to the new U.S. Census Bureau estimates, for the first time in history, non-white and Hispanic residents make up 51.2% of Georgia's population. Now, I'm going to assume that most of that is Black people in Atlanta. Now, there's some Black people outside of Atlanta, right? But Black people in Atlanta, because Atlanta is the Black Mecca.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, with these numbers, are they going to be able to harness these numbers to take over government on a statewide level? Now, you know they do in Atlanta. We got Keisha Lance Bottoms running for governor, right? Now, they stole it from Stacey the first time.
Mm-hmm.
They flat out stole it from Stacey the first time. The second time, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But the first time, I feel like they stole it. How you have the opponent in charge of the count? That don't make sense at all.
Right.
No.
Shape, form, or fashion. But with these numbers, can they get Keisha in the office? Now, this is where you have to say, hey, listen, the only thing that's going to keep us from winning is the voter apathy. So you might want to take some notes from this DSA people, even if you're not really down with them, to try to make sure that instead of Georgia being purple, that you go ahead and turn it all the way blue, which would be, you know, a game.
Not being from there. No, Rika, you probably got a lot more to say because you're in and through there and deal heavily in Georgia. But from the outside looking in, I'm not even worried about Georgia. Like Georgia's blue now. I mean, to me, honestly, that's just how it appears.
I can't say that though, Lab, because you saw what they did in your home state right now. You know, I can't say anything is for sure because.
But again, that was just the presidential election. The governor or everything else is Democrat. That's what I'm saying. So it's blue. But yeah, I mean,
my thing is this. We have to give Stacey Abrams the credit that she deserves for highlighting the fact that that state has been blue for a very long time. What they did by stealing the election from her was motivated her to go out and get the voters to the polls, get so many people that weren't registered to vote registered. No one who actually lives in Atlanta, like y'all know, Atlanta's my second home. That's where I first went to law school and started practicing and everything. I lived in Gwinnett and DeKalb mostly, but Gwinnett, we call it Gwinnetico. So, like, the billboards are in Spanish. Like, there is no confusion over the the makeup, the racial makeup of the different. I call it like kind of like the 5 boroughs, but either way,
So
we know
you got Gwinnett, you got Cobb, DeKalb.
Gwinnett is Hispanic mostly.
Like,
Cobb is white entirely. Fulton is mixed because that's the city. DeKalb is black.
Okay.
And then it's another one, baby.
Clayton.
Who am I thinking of? I'm missing somebody. Clayton. Yep. Clayton, white. So, but there's enough of everybody and everywhere, but those people had a lot of voter apathy. But people were really jazzed behind Stacey Abrams, and she went and really got people registered to vote. And then she got those people to the polls. So it's not that Georgia wasn't already probably a majority minority state. It's just that those people weren't in the census count because those people weren't registered to vote and those people weren't getting the little phone calls and stuff like that to participate in the surveys and all this other stuff. So what she has done is ignited all these people to become involved in the political system. And that in and of itself is just highlighting that they're already tired of the Republicans being in control in that state. So I think Keisha got him. And we got this billionaire running against her who refuses to like participate in any type of like debate with her or anything like that. So I think that the fact that he's a billionaire is going to piss everybody off. He's used so much of his own money, like over $1 million already of his own money to battle a political campaign that you're not even qualified for. What could that $1 million have done for the state?
Let him spend his money. Whatever Young Miami say, let him spend his money.
Spend that. So I think there's a key point that we're overlooking, or maybe we just haven't talked about yet, though. And people often talk about, when you talk about the state of Georgia, you say there's Atlanta and then there's Georgia. But across Georgia, there's a lot of rural Black people.
Yeah.
You know, on my other show, I have, Representative Shanita Wilkerson Howard. She comes on all the time. There's a lot of Black people in these rural areas that when you're talking about this Democratic Socialist of America, their agenda, we're talking about the potholes and the child care in the city. But there's some of these same issues that's out in the quote unquote country as well, that where you look at Georgia and you look at the history of voting rights for Black people in the South, and some of that apathy may be just, hey, nothing's going to change. And some of it may be it's ingrained in me not to even think about really voting, because back in the day I couldn't, because it could have been perilous for me and my family.
Right.
So I would like to see, I'm not as confident as you two are for Keisha. I sincerely hope that she wins. She has all of my support, but I don't ever underestimate the wickedness and the extremes that they will go to try to make sure that they still win. And that's the part that concerns me. Not the fact that we had the numbers, but I'm concerned about, okay, we got the numbers, we should win. Now you got to get people out.
Still got to get out the vote.
You got to get them out. You got to get them out, right?
Right.
And I mean, you see, they did it to Stacey. So we just can't underestimate the extremes that they would go to try to maintain power.
Yeah. Well, I also think though, Atlanta is, for a lot of people, like you said, there's Atlanta and then there's the rest of Georgia. So a lot of people are already familiar with Keisha Lance Bottoms that are outside of Atlanta because when you think of Georgia, they've seen her in action in Atlanta and seen, while she was mayor. Some of those people may not have necessarily been as familiar with a Stacey Abrams on a statewide level because they didn't really know her, so people in other areas may not have felt comfortable. And I mean, that's a little thing. And, there's more to that about being comfortable with her. You know what I'm saying?
I'm about to say it. You say I'm smirking. I'm about to say it. and I can say this as the resident fat dude on the show. Optics matter.
Yeah.
Optics matter.
It does.
And it doesn't matter to us on this show, but for a lot of people, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Because in corporate America, if you are overweight, it limits how far you can ascend. You see it all the time. People are like, they've been fat and then they lose weight. Also, oh man, I lost all this weight. And next thing you know, I got a promotion. And it's real. It's real.
Well, not even that though. It's just different. I mean, there's just that, and then just overall, just in corporate America too, just attractive. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at you look at. I hate to bring it up, but this current administration, everybody in their administration has to. It's like a casting call. You know,
Yeah.
you have to fit a certain
Aesthetic.
look, a certain aesthetic, and you know, it's not talked about a lot, but that gets some people to vote for him because you look like you're from central casting and your opponent doesn't. And so I may not necessarily agree with what you say, but that's what I think my representative should look like, you know, or that's who should represent me. That's me, you know, and so there's an aspect of that too.
And again, we're not saying that that's right,
No,
but
no, but
I know.
it's the thing
Yeah.
that people don't like to say.
Yeah.
That's real,
We say the quiet parts out loud.
right?
I think the other thing that people don't really think about too is like when you said there are two kind of parts to Georgia. It's Atlanta, that's kind of like this mega city, and then there's rural Georgia. I lived in Atlanta when Katrina happened, and there was this migration of people from Louisiana into Georgia. They did not like the Atlanta portion. Like some of that was a little bit, Atlanta can be pretentious. So I think that
A
we
lot of
really,
people say Atlanta's not a real place. If you go and
no.
visit, it's really not. It's not.
But so Louisiana is a lot slower
Yeah.
and Georgia is a lot slower. Atlanta is fast, but
Yeah.
Georgia is slow. Georgia is real southern and real slow as a whole. So you had that influx of Black people from Louisiana and from those Katrina hit areas move up to the city when they lost everything, trying to just get reestablished. Well, by the time they got, you know what I mean, settled somewhere and maybe got a 50 cent from FEMA, it didn't make sense to go back to Louisiana because it wasn't, done. They had already found a job. So a lot of people just stayed. And so I think there's one more Black people in Atlanta since then, that was what, 2011. But how long ago was that?
2006, 20 years.
2006?
This was 2005. Last year was 20 years.
Yeah. That's 2005. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago. But these people have been in the city basically, and like you said, they're I think a slower, different type of southern group of people than the Atlanta group of people. So I think that we need also candidates who can speak to both of those type of mindsets because
For sure.
a lot of people don't like that fast talking Atlanta. I don't know if I can trust you. I don't know if you're trying to swindle me. And then those Southern people that are a lot slower, a lot more deliberate and things like that. You need a candidate that can speak to both of them. And I think Keisha kind of has that. Not that Stacey didn't, but like you said, there are other things at play there. But I think that Keisha's got the aesthetic and she also has the reputation for when she was mayor. But then I think she also has a personability that's real Southern. And so it's not that necessarily that fast-paced big city Southern. It's kind of real Southern. So I think she has all that we can give her to be successful. So that's all. That's all.
Right.
She's got the HBCU. She went to FAMU.
Mm-hmm.
She's got she's a Delta, right? So when you put those together, you got HBCU, who alumni systems have infrastructure. You have D9, who has infrastructure to be able to get people out and to vote. So she's got a lot going for her. There's some people who are critical of her, how she handled her time as mayor. But I think over time we've realized that a lot of these people are paid actors and paid to create confusion. I think for the most part, I never really I never lived in Atlanta, but Atlanta is the Black Mecca. I'm gonna ask y'all this question after I make this point. So really, all eyes really go on Atlanta because I remember there was a time when it was looking kind of precarious if there was going to be a white person as the mayor of Atlanta. And for Black people, why that matters is because Atlanta is considered the Black Mecca because it is the only place where you can actually move there and not have to deal with white people. It's a place there where you can go and say, you know what, I don't really have to struggle to try to find a way to spend my money with Black people.
Mhm.
I have representation in my local and state government. I see people that look like me. Whereas when you live in places like where Arika lives, I'm not sure for you, but where I used to live when I was outside of Dallas, you go in there and you seeing all white folks. And why that matters is, you can have policies put into place, but the people that are in charge of dispensing whatever benefits come from that and in control of the purse strings and decisions that make sure who receives what, if they don't look like you, then it might be a 50-50 chance if you're going to get a fair shake. And that's why this whole redistricting thing matters. So they said, well, why does it matter? You can just go out and just vote. No, but if we don't have anybody that looks like us, they're not going to really be in tune to what we need or be able to speak to what we need. So that's why that matters. But let me ask y'all this question. Do y'all feel like Atlanta is the Black Mecca? And if not, what city is?
Think that even though Charlotte is trying to rival it, I think Atlanta is still the Black Mecca. Well, I think because it's like I saw an article that talked about the growth, the market growth and the
Yeah, so
population growth and everything. So it is a growing city. So that's why I say trying to rival it. But I think there's no place like Atlanta. Like when I lived there, if I don't want to interact with white people, I don't have to. We used to forget that we could just go for days and just not see white people. And then you would see one, you'd be like, what you doing out here in DeKalb County, sir? Like
yeah.
we would have to go to Cobb County to see one of them. And it was just like, it was like being in an HBCU city.
Oh, right. That's a good analogy right there. That's
You
a
know, you
good
know another
analogy.
place that used to be like that, and I think it still might be South Side of Chicago.
I was just about to say,
Segregation is tough in Chicago,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
You could spend the weekend in the South Side of Chicago, you will not see a white person.
right, right. Except for you might see him on the expressway going through. That's about
Right, the damn Ryan.
it. But I think Atlanta is the Mecca in more ways than one though. It's almost like, you say the Mecca, it's like people make that pilgrimage too. And so that's where the Atlanta situation, like you said, kind of got dicey, I think, is because there were so many people that aren't from that area originally. So they weren't invested, I don't think, in the politics as much as they should have been. That's my thought on it.
I think it's more so because normally when people that move, I'm making an assumption, so I'm not gonna say that. I'll say normally the people that move, college educated, they're gonna get ingratiated and register to vote and do the things. I think what really got them was the gentrification.
Mhm.
Gentrification was a major thing that really made it somewhat perilous on some of those elections. So I would say, and to your point about Charlotte, Arika, I don't see that happening for a long time,
No, it's not gonna happen.
if
It's
ever, if
it
ever.
kind of like you was talking about Atlanta is the city, and there's like outside of Georgia, it's like southern. Charlotte is still it's black, but it's very conservative black
Mhm.
though.
Mhm.
It's a different
Well, look at the industry, banking.
banking. Exactly. That's exactly why banking
Banking is the
is very
industry,
conservative. Yeah, it's very
right?
Mhm.
conservative. So that's also why, they be like, Charlotte's like for black wealth, the average black person
Mhm.
has so much wealth compared to even Atlanta because it's old and conservative, and it's like an older,
Mhm.
more traditional city, I guess you would say.
And
Yeah.
they've
Okay.
been trying to say that Charlotte was going to be the new Black Mecca for years. They
Years.
were they were
Literally.
saying that when I graduated from college, and I remember
Mhm.
Lab and I got a chapter brother who acts like a big idiot, but is a wise individual. And when I graduated from college, he said, "What you gonna do?" And I said, "I don't know, man. I think I might go to Charlotte." Because my mom used to read Ebony magazine, and they always
Yeah.
put Ebony like, "Hey, Charlotte's going to be the new Black Mecca," and he was like, "Don't do that." He said, "Because no matter what, man, Charlotte's still country, and that ain't where you want to be. Go somewhere like Dallas or Houston or Atlanta." And he was right. Now, Charlotte, man, I love Charlotte. I love Charlotte. I
Yeah, we
like
have a good time.
I have fun. I have fun in Charlotte. When we meet up and we record live, we in Charlotte, right? Charlotte is a good place. I would say that the only other city that I would consider the Black Mecca,
Already know.
DC.
Yeah, DC.
Now,
Yeah,
now that's changing for multiple reasons, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
But they can't call it Chocolate City no more because of how they gentrified it, and they,
Mhm.
you used to go down on U Street and you wouldn't see a white person. You go to
Right.
Ben's Chili Bowl, walk up to Howard, whatever, you see some Rosses on the corner, you see black people, and now you go up there, you see a white girl pushing a stroller with a baby jogging with
Jogging.
sports
Yeah.
bras and some biker shorts on.
And some hokas on. Yeah.
Right.
Comfortable.
You know what I mean? So, and going back to
Yes.
what we just said, the amount of government jobs that were taken away. And like I always said, when Musk and Trump and that Doge thing, when they were saying we're trying to target government jobs, that was retaliation towards Black people, specifically Black women.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So when you start seeing that income being wiped out and you start seeing the Blackness being dispersed, and then, you still go there. I just was there, a couple of weeks ago. You still got the National Guard on the corner.
Yeah.
So DC would be the one place, shout out to our frat brother, Marion Barry, me and last frat brother, Marion Barry. There's a lot of stuff put into place to help Black people, but I still think, how Atlanta goes is how, the Black community goes. And it's important for us to make sure that Atlanta continues to thrive.
Yeah. I was there like a couple weeks ago, Juneteenth or whatever, in Atlanta. And I went to the gas station by myself. Normally I'm with my brothers or my nephew or somebody like that. But I was out by myself. Baby, I barely made it out that gas station. I was like, I'm not used to this. Don't nobody be trying to holler at me in Missouri. I was like, man, this dude was like, go on, girl. I'm like, I'm just getting juice. Like, where are you from? You
Hey,
this, that.
laugh.
I,
And she probably had on a bonnet and some pajamas.
listen, given the circumstances, that
Right.
didn't look like what I've been through. So,
Yeah.
But anyway, man, I think we talked about it enough. I really hope that the message that's being sent is heard, because we got to get these people out of here. And I don't even think we got to really worry about getting Trump out of here, because I think,
Well, he lame duck now. He gone. So,
well, that again, you'll see some of them Trump 2028 posters, and you see the Supreme Court ain't shit. So I don't take anything for granted.
well, they gave one Black woman her job back, but yeah.
yeah. I
But
thought you was going to ask us if Glitch was dead.
Well, yeah, Glitch probably gone. Glitch. Now, shout out to C. Glitch really is Weekend at Bernie's. They probably got his hand on the little app where the senators can vote. They probably like, and Glitch probably is with Weekend at Bernie's. But while you playing, your boy don't look too good. 45, 47.
Oh,
Man, he look, he's haggard, boy.
dog, why is he asleep on TV so much?
Well, you
I
saw
thought I hated my job.
you saw that he got special approval for this experimental drug. I think so.
Yeah,
I can't remember. I can't remember the company. I'm gonna say Lilly, but I don't know if it's them for sure. But they got emergency approval for one person to take this experimental drug. It's like a fat loss drug. Like,
Like the
I don't-
GOP1 stuff?
I think it's
He got a GLP too.
No. He got a GLP-3. Look it up. Look it up. Look it up. Now I could be wrong, disclaimer, but it's that one guy that's on Instagram. He's talking about he's got 6 months in the land of the living, right?
Yeah, he analyzed everything you did.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So they look at it, there's a special exemption for one person, and everybody knows it's Trump. It's Trump. Because he got like the experimental medicine when he caught COVID, because COVID was taking old people out.
It was.
And this dude was back in 3 days.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy, man. I think about that all the time. But I was in DC when they found out when they was taking him to whatever the hospital.
Yeah,
and he had COVID or whatever.
Yeah,
and it was
he was back in 3 days, but look at him now.
Just, you know, it was a big
Yeah.
deal. Just like,
So what they're
oh,
saying is that medicine, I mean, there's a lot of shit they talking about. They point out with his health or whatever, but they're saying that medicine is keeping it going. So that being said, because I don't want us to be like, oh, y'all wishing for, nah, we just pointing out what we see.
yeah,
But it's bigger than him.
yeah,
It's bigger than him because I don't know if Vance is going to run, whoever else they're going to try to put in that's going to be much younger, right? Probably more sophisticated. So they're really going to have to get people engaged because to me,
Ivanka.
as dangerous as he is, did you say Rubio?
I said Ivanka.
Oh, what's the daughter that don't like him? He got one that don't talk to him. She was there in the first campaign, but anyway, yeah. But anyway, we going on a tangent. Democrats get it
Vance is
together.
diabolical.
Hey, look and see what works. Look and see what works and make it happen because times is hard out here. Times is hard for Black women. If they want, what they really need to do, they need to say, "Hey, listen, Black women. My first day in office, we're going to look at the jobs that were lost and make sure that we're going to put in programs that will help this." They can write up in a certain way so that it helps Black people because since they're moving away from DEI. But there's so many things that they could do to get people engaged and out to vote. I just hope that they do it.
They could just reassess the jobs that were taken away because there was
Right.
so much important funding taken away from programs that are doing important things. They're like, oh, I don't know what they do.
They're doing now. Like they totally kicked the ball with the USAID, with the Ebola stuff, and they bringing people back and giving more funding to it now because just
Yep.
like, oh,
Yeah.
my bad. That's
Just
all they can say. My bad.
promise to do an assessment to
Mhm.
replace all the jobs that dumb Elon went in and decided we didn't need because they didn't take the time to look and see what these people were actually doing. And what they didn't realize is that Black women are the most educated women in this country. So
No, they
you can't
didn't
just
know
find
that. They
somebody
did.
to
They knew
replace
that.
them.
They knew it.
They
But
knew
they
that.
can't just find somebody to replace them. They
That's-
hope that when they got rid of those Black women, they could just find some white people to shuffle in there, but they don't have the credentials, the
Well,
experience, the
this the
education.
thing is, I think as we've seen over and over again, they really don't care about credentials unless it's somebody Black. You got to have the credentials. Everybody else, if I know you, you good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so they've carried that whole mentality and everything. That's why, like you said, we got a peace deal that got blown up 2 days later. We cut all these jobs and boom. Now it's an outbreak of Ebola virus.
Ebola.
I mean,
Everybody got the
Hey,
measles.
you
they,
can't
they
make this
said
stuff
they
up,
said
man.
the measles.
Yeah, it's
They
measles.
said they didn't let the measles start mutating, and the shit that we got vaccinated with
Yeah.
that would eliminate measles forever. Now it's like shit. Your
Yeah.
vaccination ain't no good.
You can't make it up, man. You the only person needs to be educated to get this job.
There,
Everybody
there,
else,
there was something where I can't remember what the insect was specifically called, but it was like some hookworms or some shit in Mexico. And they had a government agency that was there to say, okay, listen, let's track this and make sure that these things don't cross over into US. Guess what? It's in the US now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because the department got eliminated.
I got furloughed.
It's just crazy, man. But anyway, man, make sure y'all go to our website, www.manlistenshow.com. You can listen to our past episodes. You can listen on Apple Podcasts. Rika can't, but everybody else can because she's a droid. she's a
I
droid.
stay catching strays.
She's a droid. She's a droid loser. And go to our bio on Instagram. You can buy our gear. You can buy our books. And see, how's next time. Peace.